And two, help stop the genocide in American ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbee. I would like to encourage everyone on my Facebook friends list, everyone in my social groups, and all my listeners from around the globe. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share this audio podcast on all social media sites you are on, such as Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Ladies and gentlemen, this audio podcast is available in two forms: as a written text and also as a audio podcast. In order for us to reach our audience, I am the founder and president of the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast is our Black media component. I would like to encourage my listeners to subscribe to my Medium page so that you can look over my sources. I provide my Medium page in the comment section below this audio podcast. For those of you who don't know me, then get to know me by purchasing my revised book and reading my story, quote, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, and Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, second edition. It's available in two forms, as an ebook for $9.99 and also as a softcover book for $15 plus shipping and handling. I provide the link to my Amazon author page in the comment section below this audio podcast. After you have read my story, and if you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, then make arrangements with me to come on this platform and get on camera and let's talk about it. We want to encourage others to get involved with our cause and to back up our film project. We have upgraded our platform um, by using StreamYard. We want to interact with our audience in real time through Facebook Messenger, through our live, through our stream live. Our GoFundMe page is now up and running, and yet still no donations. But again, hey, I'm gonna keep doing this because this is where I'm at right now. I want to do more than just news and social commentaries. But again, it takes capital. Without financial support from the Black grassroots and the global African family, then I am unable to do my job. And this is why I'm using my platform to connect with other like minded Americans and like minded African immigrants within the United States of America. My revised book has been on Amazon now for 13 years and still barely selling. Items on my virtual store is also barely selling. What does that tell us? Truth be told, Black Americans do not want a solution. That's what it tells us. I'm going to send a challenge out to everyone that's listening to this audio podcast. I need you all to support our film project so that we can move beyond cyberspace and get our story on the big screen to let the Black world know who we are and what we're trying to do for our people who are trapped in American ghettos, starting in Chicago. I want to do more than, again, I want to do more than just news and social commentary. But again, this is where I'm at for right now. All I can do is pray and watch how children die in the streets. I'm unable to reach Black Americans because many of them have become Americanized and developed a narcissist attitude. This is why I'm reaching out to African immigrants within the United States of America, 10 African nations, in order to help speed up this process. They are as follows: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. I'm asking that you would read my story for yourself. If you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, then please send me an email message to my business email provided in my revised book. I'd love to have you to come on, make arrangements with me to come on this platform so that way we can talk about it and encourage others to get behind this film project. Quote, Hood Liberator made in Chicago. The war against Willie Lynch begins. Unquote. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our campaign either on our GoFundMe page or on our PayPal giving page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, legal, and general expenses. Our aim is to raise $250,000. We are using crowdfunding so that everybody would know exactly where the money is going. We have our GoFundMe page, and again, our PayPal giving page. And if you are a US citizen, I recommend that you use our PayPal giving fund page as a tax write-off because this is a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit faith-based community advocacy organization. I'm using my platform in order to interact with everyone on my friends list and everyone in my social groups. You are an author, an entrepreneur, poet, or musician, either Black American or African immigrant, Afro Caribbean, Afro Brazilian, Afro Latino, then make arrangements to come on this platform to promote yourself and your work with my listeners from the global community. I give business owners, church leaders, and people that have special talents an opportunity to share their information with my listeners from the global community. After the show, I usually offer my guest speakers an incentive by sharing with them how to create their own podcast, YouTube channel, create free websites for their business or ministries, find grants and scholarships, and legal services all for free. Upcoming events. Please mark your calendar for our monthly virtual interactive conference, Saturday, March 29th, 2025. Theme, Killing Beef, Gun Violence in the Community, where YouTube Live / StreamYard. Time, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. American Central Time, 3 p.m. Canadian Time, 9 p.m. West African Time, 10 p.m. South African Time, 11 p.m. East African Time, and 9 p.m. UK Time. Instructions on how to participate on our monthly virtual interactive conference. If you would like to be on this panel, then just send me your email address to my backup Facebook page through Facebook Messenger. I will email you audio podcast. Let me know that you have finished listening to my presentation, then I will send you the link to get on the show. Once I finish my presentation, then I will open up the show for Q&A. This is called Side. Prefer to see you on camera first before you come on the show in order to avoid trolls. Title of this presentation, Representative Ayanna Pressley is using the reparation hustle to get Black Americans back on the Democratic plantation. My thoughts about the economic blackout, February 28th, 2025, and the importance of self-preservation in this day and age. Our first topic, Representative Ayanna Pressley is using the reparation hustle to get Black Americans back on the Democratic plantation. The Democrats are so desperate to get Black Americans to come back on the Democrat plantation by using HR 40 because they know that they have lost us. They brought out Representative Ayanna Presley to hold a press conference about HR 40 to pick up the mantle of this historic legislation that has been championed by Congressman John Connor and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who introduced the study more than 30 years ago when Congressman John Connor was a co-founder of the Congressional Black Caucus. Truth be told, if the Democrats were serious about H.R. 40, they would have brought this up during the Obama administration when, when they had the House and the Senate. If the Democrats were serious about H.R. 40, they would have brought this up during the Biden administration when they had both the House and the Senate. But instead, they decided to bring it up now, knowing good and well that it's not going to be voted on. What about what the California Legislative Black Caucus did? What did they do? They blocked two reparation proposals. So how can we trust them? Governor Gavin Newsom of California and Black Democrats sabotaged the reparations bill when the Republicans were trying to say put it up for a vote. The Democrats didn't give those illegal immigrants any study. They were given access to resources for breaking the law at the expense of American taxpayers. While Black Americans were struggling to pay their rent and mortgages, Democrats transferred money to help fund foreign wars like Ukraine and Israel. Now with the, the I believe it's pronounced Doge, anyhow, DOGE. Public will see where all of this money is going under the Biden administration. The same money you were handing out to illegal immigrants, that's our reparations. I'm offended that the Democrats brought out Ayanna Presley to push H.R. 40, which is only a study, no economic tangibles. Y'all had plenty of time to get this done during the Biden administration, but again, didn't want us to have reparation either because what did Biden say? He supported a study, but he never said he supported lineage-based cash payment reparations for descendants of American slaves slash freedmen. Democrats, if you want Black Americans to support you, then pay us our reparations. We brought up reparations when we had a so-called Black president, Barack Obama. I moved from the whole reparation conversation because our so-called Black representatives are not serious about passing the reparations bill. Instead, look at what Black Democrats in California did to the reparation bill. They voted against it before it got to the floor. So now the Democrats are bringing out Representative Ayanna Presley. They're trying to weaponize reparation as an excuse to attack Trump. That's what this is all about. All these years, these Black politicians have done nothing to advance reparations. And like I said, let the Democrats crash. And the California Legislative Black Caucus pulled the bill because it said the proposal need more work after state lawmakers blocked two reparation proposals. The California Legislative Black Caucus decided to withhold those bills, which led to a protest at the Capitol. It wasn't the Republicans, it was the Black Caucus after spending years studying the effects of slavery and racial discrimination and its impact on Black Californians. So, Ayanna Presley and the caucus she's affiliated with, they're the ones that stopped the reparation bill in California. But the Democrats want you to believe that they're going to do something about reparations on a state level and on a federal level. When it comes to illegal immigrants and all of a sudden they speak up for them, it's the reparation hustle. They're just using this to attack the Trump administration. What the Democrats are doing is promoting reparation as an opportunity to blame Republicans for not getting on board with reparations. By the way, historically, it was the Democrats who were standing on anti Black racism 10 toes down after chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is a system that treated enslaved people as property. Secondly, it was the Democrats who practiced benign and neglect strategies against Black Americans. Now, all of a sudden, Ayanna Presley wants to talk about H.R. 40 after 30 years of overlooking this issue. It has moved nowhere. To watch the full video or press release entitled, quote, Democrats are still in shambles without Friedman. So they bring out HR 40 again, unquote. Go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section of this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. Let's be clear. If the Democrats were serious about this issue, it would have been a priority years ago. The Democrats helped give federal protection for Asians and illegal immigrants living in these sanctuary cities. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren told us they are against reparations. They bring it up now because they heard that the Black grassroots are stomping hard for reparations. On this platform, I educate my listeners about the trick bag language the Democrats use in H.R. 40. And speaking on Black History Month, we will not allow our history to be erased. So, in other words, we will not allow our story to be whitewashed. Our reparations is a powerful reminder of the work that remains and offer us a pathway towards truth, reconciliation, and accountability for past wrongdoings of Black Americans. Reparations is a meaningful step towards repairing the structural injustice that continue to harm Black Americans. The racial wealth gap between Blacks and whites is not by accident, it's by design. The racial wealth gap is over $10 trillion. This is shameful reality is the direct result of generations of precise intentional policies that's codified into our laws and budgets. And it is specifically the result of American slavery and the anti Black racism that followed from Jim Crow, convict leasing, redlining, housing discrimination, mass incarceration. Our government, through policies and budgets, has perpetuated and entrenched these harms for generations. The disparities that we see in healthcare, education, criminal justice are done by design. The U.S. government has a moral and legal obligation to right those wrongs and grant us our reparations. Systematic racism defines the injustice being inflicted on Black Americans and deprive us of our rights. This systematic racism, because that is codified in law, which means it's policy driven. Here's what the bill would do. H.R. 40 creates a federal commission, an expert body charged with investigating the enduring impact of slavery and its aftermath and developing concrete proposals for reparations. Family. Everything Ayanna Presley named were policies, but she's saying now we need to get together and discuss examining and developing things. That's not policy. That's code word for study and commission. That's not policy. In the video clip, she named a bunch of policies that inflicted harm on us. When and then what she is offering is everything except a new policy, which is the whole point. Family, everything she named is the problem with the HR 40. We said we need a new policy to overturn and defeat this racist current policy, and they're talking to us about everything except a new policy. Notice the Democrats are not offering non citizens a study. They're not eligible for anything because they're breaking the law. See the double standard. Let's examine this a little further by going to Anna's Presley's website. To read Ayanna's Presley's website, the full press release ent- entitled, quote, amidst onslaught on DEI, Presley Booker colleagues reintroduce historic reparation bills during Black History Month, unquote. Then just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section of this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. It seems like the Democrat Party are desperately looking for a new leader. Cory Booker is trying to raise his profile, right? Now because he thinks he sees an opportunity where he failed twice. Ayanna Presley reintroduced the historic reparation bill during Black History Month. She is trying to establish a federal commission hearing to examine the lasting legacy of slavery and develop reparation proposal for Black Americans. We already dealt with this in California. We already did the commission thing. There's no reason to have another commission at the federal level. Well, that was at the state level. So I'm just saying, there's no reason to continue wasting our time when they already know what we did at the state level. Since Trump won the election now, all of a sudden it's important to Democrats to start talking about HR 40. The trick bag thing ain't going to work. When you read the bill, removing the lineage component, do you realize that's the trick bag that she threw in there? She didn't make it about a lineage. She said living African American. That's any Black person. Notice, Jewish people never discuss racial healing or reconciliation when they created their reparation bills. This is nothing more than just a commission and an insult. Yet these other groups didn't need a study or a commission. Here's why Black Americans are in trouble in America. I found a video clip entitled, quote, Developers buy 70 properties on historic Black Street, unquote. To watch the full video, then just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section of this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. What I got from the video is there is a place called 12th Street in Austin, Texas, and they're talking about a developer named Eureka. That's coming through the town, buying up the block. They're targeting and sabotaging our neighborhoods. The first thing they start doing is walking around our neighborhoods. All of a sudden, the demographics change. Family, we need to talk about Ayanna Presley, and the Democrats in her concerned effort to help annihilate Black Americans. For 3 decades, I have been warning Black Americans to work with me in getting the Kai of Chicago up and running for the sake of our children. If we don't fight for our children, no one will. Let's focus on who's on Austin City Council. They had a public hearing, and there was a particular building the residents wanted to preserve. They already redeveloped 11th Street. Now they're just moving around like locusts. These buildings were kind of the last vestige of their achievements and their culture in the community. This private land developers only care about making profits. In a vote of 9-2, the Austin City Council voted to designate 1500 East 12th Street of historic landmark. The vote was 9-2. These are the two people who voted against it. Natasha Hopper Madison. I believe she's an Afro Caribbean, and Paige Elson is a white woman. You only have one Black person in on the Austin City Council, and she voted against the African American neighborhood. I want my listeners to understand that this is a story that's taken place across the United States of America. I ran across a YouTube video by Beaver Geography entitled, quote, Why America's Strangest City Exists, unquote. To watch the full video, then just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section of this audio podcast. Click on the link and scroll down to show and prove. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our second topic, my thoughts about the economic blackout, February 28th, 2025. As I mentioned on my last podcast, entitled, quote, How the Civil Rights Movement Was Hijacked by the White Supremacist Financial Elites, unquote. During the Civil Rights era, Black Americans decided to push for social integration and cultural assimilation. The Tulsa Race War Massacre, which is also called Black Wall Street, was the worst racial violence in American history. The flip side of Black Wall Street was that it was rebuilt, then abandoned by Black Americans for integration. During the Civil Rights era, there were two thoughts. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wanted to push for integration. Elijah Muhammad wanted to push for separation. At the end of the day, Black Americans fought and died for integration. This is a fact and well documented. Our grandparents shut down everything in our own communities. Our grandparents gave up everything in order to integrate into the dominant society. We had Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Amos Wilson, and Claude Anderson, who told Black Americans to do for self, and Black Americans didn't heed the warning. But instead, our people pushed even harder for social integration and cultural assimilation. Today, we are integrated into American society, and sad to say this, but a majority of Black Americans have also become Americanized and have adopted this narcissist attitude. I run across a lot of those people, online and in real life. When I tell them about my vision and plan, a majority of Black Chicagoans, they tell me they're not interested. And again, this is why I'm online. This is why I created my platform. This is why I wrote my story. This is why I created my virtual store. This is why it's taken me 33 years and still I'm on first base. That's why I'm reaching out to African immigrants within the United States of America from 10 African nations for them to please read my story, And if you agree with my vision and plan, then make yourself known to me by contacting me through email. At this point, there's no middleman. You have no, there's no middleman. You can connect with me directly. Over here, we don't do all that marching and protesting in the streets. We want to build things. And our first task, I'm trying to encourage my listeners to read my story. Purchase the book. I wrote the book in order to generate capital. I created the virtual store in order to generate capital. Now, the film project is my last attempt to try to build something positive for my racial group, which is Black Americans. That's all I have. We want to get this film project fully funded and made so that the Black world would know who we are and what we're trying to do for our people that's trapped in America, ghettos starting in Chicago. Mark my words, once we build the best African American business within the United States of America, which will be the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago, then you will see Black Americans coming from all coming from the woodworks all over and who would want to be a part of this new Black movement in America. Again, ain't nothing changed. My business will remain membership based. Before I cut and run to Africa, I want to make sure that Black Americans know that we were here and that we built the tribe of Chicago, both like minded African immigrants and like minded Black Americans who are the CAM member. We will expand our business to 10 African nations, so that way we can do international trade with our brothers and sisters on the continent. That's what I want to be remembered for, trying to do something positive for our Black youth, African youth, and their families. Getting back to economic blackout on Friday, February 28th, 2025. There are probably more Black Americans who work at Target, even with the end of DEI. Doesn't mean they're gonna fire all Black Americans. Okay, so you boycott on Friday, February 28th. What about those Black Americans that still work for Target? Do those Black jobs matter? Let's say Target let go of those Black workers. Are you in a position to hire them? Same thing with Amazon. If they let go of those Black workers, are you in a position to hire them? Instead of boycotting these Black companies, let's just create our own Black jobs. And again, this is what I've been preaching to Black Americans for the past 33 years. Yes, they taking me for joke. I'm doing the best I can within my power. And again, this is why I created my platform because I refuse to be ignored. I want to connect with other like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants. This is why I'm doing all of this stuff. Black Americans don't want to buy my revised book. They don't want to buy items from my virtual store or donate to my film project. Then how in the hell do you expect me to do my job? Just saying. How can I do my job if you're not supporting me to do? I mean, I'm putting my reputation on the line. Selling the book is not a scam. That's uneducated people who want to maintain that status quo. Those are not the type of people I want in my business. We will separate ourselves from con artists, degenerates, urban terrorists, and off-code Negroes, just to name a few. I remember during Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown protests, Black Americans were saying we need to boycott Walmart and all these mega corporations who ain't supporting us. And I was like, Walmart is hiring Black people. Why would I or others want to boycott them? We're integrated now. If you disagree with what I'm saying, then make arrangements to come on this show so we can talk about it. We're just having a conversation. I believe if we really want to boycott something, we should boycott Arab businesses, Asian businesses, and East Indian businesses in our community and build our own establishment in our own communities. You feel me? You can't have it both ways. We can't talk about integration, living in a color blind society, and then abandoning Black people. What I said in some many words in my revised book is the reason why Black Americans did so well under Jim Crow was because we had structure. We had role models such as Black middle class professionals. And now, when you have a community that's completely out of control, our youth have no positive role models. This is why we have to build Grassroots Chicago, while we still have a chance. We chose we had Black's Wall Street. We had many other thriving Black communities and neighborhoods nationwide. We had wealth because we circulated our money with each other and we stayed with each other. We bought from each other. We worked with each other. We had our own Negro leagues, which made millions of dollars for the community. But Black Americans saw Jackie Robinson as a revolutionary and decided to integrate into the major leagues. The low income African American communities are now dangerous. It's not safe to raise children there due to urban violence on a weekly basis. Don't take my word for it. Just look at the local news station and you will hear about someone being shot or killed on the evening news nationwide. Let's keep it a buck. Many Black Americans during the Civil Rights era wanted to integrate with white Americans and have that interracial sex while abandoning our Black businesses. Now we have nothing to show for it. We don't own and control things like we once did under Jim Crow. I was a victim of the crack epidemic era when the white supremacist financial elites flooded the African American communities with drug, guns, and liquor stores. And I talk about that, in detail in my revised book if you all want to know about that. It's my hope that Grassroots Chicago will become a nationwide franchise across the United States of America, as well as expand the business to 10 African nations. It's hard for me to boycott a place that I know that nearly all the employees are Black. It was easier to boycott back in the 60s during Jim Crow. It's completely stupid boycotting under the banner of DEI only benefits white women. I've seen a few religious leaders online talking about backing this boycott. I'm not hearing what we're demanding. It's sad in this day and age we have to encourage Black Americans to support Black businesses. That should be a given. We all live in different cities and states, so just look for Black owned businesses and just shop there. This reminds me of Blackout Friday, Friday thing. They always say we're not going to shop on this day, but don't provide alternatives. I want Black Americans to start flexing their economic power. Remember, on this platform, we promote Black economic empowerment. If we're going to make an impact, then we need to do better job at organizing and have a plan of action, like having a database and showing results in cities and states. That's a true national boycott. We can use our Black dollars as a collective, which is 1 trillion dollars that we put into this economy every year, or we can start putting our money into our own businesses, just like all these other groups, and that will help turn around our inner cities, as well as invest in our international businesses overseas. I believe that's how we can make a real impact in both the African American community and the African immigrant community. Then things will improve. As I stated in my revised book, integration was a bad move on our part. If we use that same energy that we had during the 2024 election, Black women raised $1 million for Kamala Harris political campaign. She was in office for 4 years, and yet she did nothing for Black people. If the 92% of Black women would use that same energy to help raise that $250,000 for our film project on our GoFundMe page, then we can make a real impact in our communities, starting in Chicago. I believe that this Trump administration is a blessing in disguise because they are shaking up the status quo in this country. For the first time, the history of Liberia has been recognized by mainstream media. ABC News has part of Black History Month. The founding of Liberia is very important part of Black American history. Liberia is the greatest accomplishment in Africa by Black Americans. Black Americans freed slaves, decided to take their destiny into their own hands and build a nation that is still here today. Yeah, you have the adversities and the civil wars and the coups, but all in all, our ancestors rebuilt Liberia. They wasn't asking for DEI. They wasn't begging to integrate into the dominant American society. And all of those sit-ins at lunch counters and getting beaten by people who hated them with a passion. They decided to leave America and build their own nation. I'm always wondering, why isn't this history taught in our schools? I believe because it goes against their slave narrative. To learn more about this history, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section of this audio podcast and click on the link. Then scroll down to Show and Prove and select the video clip entitled, quote, The Connection Between the U.S. and the West African Nation of Liberia, unquote. From the United States to the West African Nation of Liberia was founded more than 2 centuries ago by freed Black Americans. Black Americans shaped a country known as the Land of Liberty. They created monuments like Masonic temples, even a flag that resembles the U.S. flag. Liberia is a small nation on the western coast of Africa, and its story is tied to America. In the 1800s, a group of white Americans created what was known as the American Colonization Society. Its aim was to repatriate formerly enslaved Black Americans back to Africa, even though many had been in the U.S. for generations. Liberia historian Dr. C. Patrick Burrow said American Colonization Society formed a colony in Africa to have free Blacks who chose to leave America and return to Africa. They were joined by people who were politicians and who thought that the repatriation of Blacks back to Africa was important to preserve stability in the U.S., that as long as free Blacks were here, they would influence those who were enslaved, and those who were enslaved might rebel. The ACS discussed about buying land in Africa and chose to call it Liberia. In other words, the land of the free. Its capital, Monrovia, Monrovia, Monrovia was named after U.S. President James Monroe. Among those who would make the journey was William D. Coleman, a young boy who grew up on a plantation. Kentucky James Wardlaw, upon his death, he wanted all his enslaved um, servants or his enslaved property on his plantation to be liberated on the condition they migrate to Liberia or be sold back into slavery. It is estimated about 15,000 freed Black Americans resettled in Liberia. They set about building a country based on what they known, overcoming challenges from the local population. You can still find buildings that look almost identical to those in the American South. In 1847, Liberians signed their own Declaration of Independence. It was a land of freedom. Liberia is still a land of freedom. William D. Coleman, born enslaved on an American plantation, would eventually grow up to become the nation's 13th president, but the Coleman search for freedom wouldn't end there. Decades later, during the brutal Liberian Civil War, a portion of the family chose to flee the violence by heading back to America outside of Washington, D.C. The descendants of William D. Coleman also created a foundation aimed at rebuilding the nation that gave them liberty. These were freed slaves returning back to Africa. Liberia became a dumping ground of free blacks. They got there and had to figure out how to rebuild what they had. What That's why we have a country of Liberia today. But Black Americans want to beg for DEI and boycotting for one day. At the end of the American Revolution, the Black loyalists who fought on the side of the British were promised their freedom, and so at the end of the American Revolution, they were sent to Canada. But it was so cold there, they sent them to Sierra Leone. And then when the British outlawed slavery, they would intercept slave ships off the coast of Africa and they would bring those slaves to Sierra Leone. Liberia was founded 1822. Black people weren't considered Americans until 1868. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our third topic, the importance of self preservation in this day and age. What is self preservation? The protection of oneself from harm or death, especially regarding as a basic instinct in human beings and animals. I predict the migrant crisis in my revised book. I explain how all of these other groups are on code against us and that the Latino community will fight like hell to get their people to become legal citizens. In contrast, during our virtual interactive conference for the month of February, not one person was on my panel to discuss the topic. It's gonna get worse for Black children in America because our racial group as a collective is off code. All of the principles in my revised book is the code for your CAM members. On this platform, our goal is to build a bridge between like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants within the United States of America. Building this bridge is the most important thing for the future of Black America. I need the best of the diaspora and the best of African immigrants to assist me in building the infrastructure for Chicago. Then we can expand the business to 10 African nations. All of this wasteful spending is our reparation money, ladies and gentlemen. Descendants of American slaves slash freemen built these United States of America for free. All of the wealth made in this country came off the backs of our ancestors. For example, the bacon industry, the insurance industry, the healthcare industry, the railroad industry, and Wall Street. All these multi-million dollar industries were built off the backs of our ancestors, and in order to close that $11 trillion wealth gap between blacks and whites, our reparation would be recirculated back to stimulate the American economy. Many Africans and Afro Caribbeans don't reciprocate with Black Americans. Black Americans have always supported African causes like speaking out against apartheid in South Africa. Black Americans supported Ethiopia when the Italians tried to colonize them. It was Black Americans who exposed the history of what happened in the Congo. Black Americans came to West Africa to recruit Africans into our HBCU programs to help them to get housing, etc. When African immigrants and Afro Caribbean immigrants come to the United States of America, many of them create their own separate communities, set up their own ethnic enclaves, and prioritize their own national identities. For example, Representative I, Ayana Ilhan of Minnesota. She said her only focus is helping her people of Somalia. Another example, Nigerian politician Austin Dang, a Republican candidate running for governor of Michigan. He said he wants to end Black History Month. To watch the full video entitled, quote, candidate for Michigan governor wants to end Black History Month, unquote. Just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. What about helping Black Americans? After all, it was Black Americans that during the civil rights era helped get more I would say African immigrants and Afro Caribbeans over to the United States of America. And again, that's why I'm reaching out to you all because I need your help. I know it's not easy working with Black Americans. I'm living proof. 33 years I've been reaching out to my people, but again, a majority of them full of Willie Lynch and that slave mentality. But this is what I'm called to do. So unfortunately, it has to take so long, but I believe that my Lord and Savior will connect me with the right people that have the means to help speed up this project, especially with this film thing. Um, I know that there are African immigrants that's here in America. I'm gonna say, for example, from Nigeria that have filming experience, maybe from Nollywood. I would like for you all to connect with me, but read my story first. That's all I'm saying. And then we could talk business one on one behind closed doors. We have a unique ethnogenesis, just like any other ethnic group. We have our own lineage, our own history, and our own cultural development. Under GCAM, it's our objective to connect with other like minded Black Americans, like minded African immigrants, like minded Afro Caribbeans, like minded Afro Brazilians, like minded Afro Latino. We will learn about each other's culture, be respectful, learn to do business together, and most of all, heal from the scars of slavery and colonization. There's a lot of corruption and tribalism taking place on the African continent. We came from a great continent. It's not perfect, but I believe if African immigrants in America would work with me and help me get um, my business up and running here in Chicago, Um, I would say Black Americans, they're going to come on board. Just mark my words. Um, Again, this will help speed up the process for us to expand the business to the 10 African nations that I mentioned. We're not telling our members to up and flee America. What we are suggesting is that GRCAM members should consider becoming global citizens. And I'm going to lead by example because I'm going to apply for dual citizenship in South Africa when I go there to set up GRCAI of Africa and shoot our second film. Um, Becoming global citizen and not limited our talents only to America. Again, there will be a war between Africa and Europe eventually because the white supremacist financial elites want to continue taking our natural resources to help improve their economy in Western nations. If we lose Africa, we lose everything. I need African immigrants to support me as it pertains to our film project. Once we are able to get our film project fully funded and made, then the proceeds from the film once the proceeds from the film start coming in, then I would be in a better position financially to purchase property in Chicago, buy office equipment, and hire qualified Black middle class professionals and qualified African immigrants to help me build the best African American business within the United States of America, and that is GRCAI of Chicago. We're going to do that for credibility. When Black Americans start pushing for delineation from all these other groups who are freeloading off what we got going on. We were talking about Asians, Latinos, LGBT, and those who are coming over here illegally while practicing anti-Black racism. Once we start talking about our reparations, many of them show their true color and their contempt. Obama is a tether and gave reparations to American Jews. Their situation did not happen on American soil. It happened in Germany. How disrespectful can you be? Um, to find that article, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast and just go down to show and prove. Matter of fact, I encourage you all to just watched all the videos that I have there, the articles, read all those articles, everything under show and prove. So that way you can be educated about everything that I'm talking about. Again, when I come on this platform, I bring receipts because I like to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And I make sure I research my stuff so that way I can present my information. Um, The white supremacist financial elites have flooded the US with a bunch of melanated immigrants whose goal is to undermine our interests under the guise of skin tone. Look at this Dodge site. All of these resources that were secretly funding people in other countries while denying us basic resources for our people and our community. Dodge is tracking government spending from the Biden administration. As of now, Dodge total estimated savings are $65 billion, which is a combination of fraud detection, deletion, contract lease cancellation, contract lease renegotiation, asset sales, grant cancellation, and workforce reduction. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate put me on blast by telling all of your friends and family to listen to our content on our YouTube page. I'm going to send a challenge out to everybody that's listening to this audio podcast. I need you all to support our film project so that we can move beyond cyberspace and get our story on the big screen. to let the Black world know who we are and what we're trying to do for our people that's trapped in American ghettos. Quote, Hood Liberator, made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins, unquote. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our campaign either on our GoFundMe page or on our PayPal Giving Fund page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, legal, and general expenses. I would like to thank everyone who have contributed or will contribute to support our film project on our GoFundMe page. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can use our PayPal Giving Fund page as a tax write-off because this is a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit faith-based and community advocacy organization. You can also purchase items from our virtual store or purchase my revised book. The ebook is $9.99, or the softcover book is $15 plus shipping and handling. We appreciate your support. You can find all the links below this audio podcast in the comment section. Thank you all for listening to our YouTube live or the replay. Thank you all for subscribing, liking, and sharing. I would like to thank all of you for listening to our audio podcast on Spotify. If you're new to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghetto podcast, welcome to our safe space where we discuss Black issues. We do this every week. Please do me a favor. Click that subscribe button, hit that like button, and join us each and every time that we're here. This will conclude our audio podcast for today. We will see you on the next episode. Peace and blessings.